Oh,
You know, I can't help it. I just feel like if I'm having a formal meeting, I'm going to be the guy in a suit. Honor the process, so.
good. I was asked,
I was told by Mike Hunt that I'm going to be meeting with Mike Hunt after the meeting because he has complaints about the person he sits next to. On his left.
about what now? You said about
On
tattoos?
his right. He has only the nicest things to say about the person on his right. The person on his left, though, woo!
And it really bothers me, you know.
I think that goes for the whole.
Yeah, really. That's such a number of houses story.
We good?
I'm good.
I call to order this meeting of the TIRZ number 1, 2, 3, and 4 and the Power Center Board meetings on this June 7th, 2023. Mr. Whitaker, do you mind doing invocation with that big old bite you just took?
I will. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for each one of us, the families we represent, the citizens we work for. Lead and guide us to do your will. Give us all our many sins. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right, let's stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. Allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, indivisible. All right, discuss and consider approval of minutes from the tax increment reinvestment zone number 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the Power Center Board meeting on this June 7th and June 14th, 2023. Is there any discussion, questions, concerns? If not, is there a motion to approve? Might want to push that button down there. I don't know if it's on or not. There you go.
I move to approve the minutes from our last meeting.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next step, discuss and consider resolution number 2023-2, a resolution of the tax increment reinvestment zone number 2, board approving a TIRZ agreement with Terrell 1098 LLC to collect TIRZ revenues and distribute the funds for financing construction of public infrastructure in the planned Arboretum Estates development in Terrell, Texas, authorizing the mayor to execute the TIRZ agreement and establishing an effective date.
Okay, so I'm going to go over to Resolution 2023-2. This is essentially unchanged from the last time that you saw it. We did have some legal pittering around with the way to phrase some of this, and we wanted to include the phrase that we're contributing to the Arboretum Estates Fund, because the development agreement itself refers to the Arboretum Estates Fund. So the question is, where will your tax increment refinance zone funds from this piece of property go? Well, it'll go into the Arboretum Estate Fund. So we had a little bit of a wording change there, but essentially no other changes to the Resolution 2023-2. It still has attached to it Exhibit A, the TIRZ number 2 agreement. Again, as we're sort of landing the airplane here, we do anticipate small-scale legal changes to some of the wording in here, but I can tell you, I reviewed edits from the lawyer for the Arboretum Estates team over the weekend. They have the most minor of grammatical things to change and move around, so I'm not gonna worry about that. I wanted to spend my time talking to you about the infrastructure, so it's clear. So remember, the primary role here of the TIRZ is to say, okay, after we collect this property tax increment, we're going to pay you back for things you build, right? So here's the overall plan. Again, this is unchanged, the same thing you guys have seen before. I've got Las Lomas Boulevard coming through here. I've got a drone crew following up on your request, and so we're going to station a drone out here. We're going to actually fly parts of the future Las Lomas, because I thought that was not just good to answer your question, that's going to be good for the public and good for lots of people over the course of time. So we'll get a little bit of work going there, and as you've seen on this, as we've shown it to you a few different times, you've got this big, what they call Phase 1A and Phase 1. So Phase 1A has always been this commercial stuff and the multifamily, and then they've got a Phase 1 down here with an initial residential phase of a total of 512 houses down here. And that in that initial phase, they get down here and they get the parking lot done for the nature preserve zone, okay? And so obviously they're not building the whole nature preserve and all of the other stuff, the school site first. They're just going to pull off the Blue Star development element up here and this initial phase of residential in their Phase 1. And then everything else is labeled, okay, I got a Phase 2 down here where I extend a little bit further south. I've got a Phase 3 down here. Phase 4, I come back up over here and finish out some of the 75-foot lots, 70-foot lots, sorry, and some more of the executive estate stuff over here. And then I go over here and do Phase 5, Phase 6. Phase 7 is this little corner down here of executive estate. We didn't want to cut them loose to build anything close to where the outer loop comes through until we had more information on Phase 8, kind of to your point about, well, what do we really know about outer loop right now? Right now we need to preserve right away, but if I'm 10, 15 years down the line and the outer loop stopped at 148 or stopped at 20, then there's a provision in the development agreement that says, hey, just make this an arterial. I still need a road, right? But I don't necessarily need all of right away for a freeway. So since there's that option built into the development agreement based on what somebody who's not the city of Terrell decide related to the outer loop, we have an option in there, right? I've told you a couple of places where we have some options in the agreement, and I thought that was an important one to highlight. So that's the phasing of the land, okay? So when I know how I'm phasing land, how then am I phasing infrastructure? So this is just a look at the phasing of the initial part of the infrastructure. Since we're trying to get this done initially, well, I'd love to be able to tell you that they're going to get 4 lanes of FM 148 built in day 1, but what can they really do? They can really create a set of engineering plans, show them to TxDOT, and then say, TxDOT, we're willing to pay for this. Can we get on your schedule and be allowed to build it, right? So they'll be going through they end up building 4 lanes of Los Lomas all the way down, again, to the nature preserve spot. I keep saying nature preserve. The nature preserve parking lots across the street from the fire station, right? So that's kind of part of the thinking there, and that gets you down to the school side as well. You get collector B, collector A here, those getting developed out, and then you get a 2-lane section of Los Lomas going down in this area here, and obviously all the local roads built also as part of that. Then if you take a look at the water infrastructure side of it, so one of their big issues is, and I realize this map doesn't have quite everything on it, but that's okay. One of their big issues is, again, as the EDC is pulling water down through here, and then they pick up and extend through here, they have the upsizing cost. If it was just up to them, they would build a 12-inch water line through here as part of the development agreement. They're paying for a 20-inch water line all the way over to this end of their property. But they'll eventually swing back over here and connect with that water line over in that area. So there's their water phasing. And then on the wastewater treatment plant phasing, you've got, again, phase 1 sewer coming down here, phase 1 sewer coming down here, and then all connecting to the wastewater treatment plant. It's our identification, and I talked about this a little bit last time, that, eventually you've got wastewater treatment plants all the way up in the Man property on Big Brushy Creek, right? So that's the corner of FM 148, Big Brushy Creek. That's kind of where Forney, McClendon, Chisholm, and Terrell all come together up on the way north side. And then you go down and you say, oh, wait a minute, there's also a North Spur, which is your TIRZ number 4 wastewater treatment plant. There's Wendell Farms wastewater treatment plant. There's a Los Lomas treatment plant. There's the treatment plant for this one right here. So I didn't even count all of them, and that's 5 wastewater treatment plants on Big Brushy Creek within about an 8-mile stretch. We think ultimately the city of Terrell, and this would be something that TIRZ number 4 board and TIRZ number 2 board eventually work on with the city is, well, wait a minute, if we're going to consolidate all of those and treat wastewater south of here somewhere, how do we all share in the cost of putting a future wastewater treatment plant somewhere that's not, that collects up all of these temporary wastewater package plants? Eventually, we're going to have to do that. And some of you guys might recall that, well, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 years ago, the county was trying to study locations for a regional wastewater treatment plant. I don't think we would be as aggressive as that, because I think that was a much more, really, really big picture version of trying to figure out wastewater treatment plant. Ours would be a little bit more modest than that. I think that study with North Texas Municipal Water District said, oh, go south of Kaufman and really collect up a whole bunch of stuff. I don't know if that'll ever get dusted off, but this at least gives us a starter kit for figuring out how do we have the future not be 7 or 8 wastewater treatment plants along various parts of Big Brushy Creek. That's not really the best treatment option long term. Long term, we need something different than that. So anyway, that's the infrastructure phasing. Exhibit A, the TIRZ agreement is references some of that's in the development agreement. And then the resolution just says, hey, move forward. Again, going back over to page 7 of your packet, you're going to authorize me to negotiate, mayor authorized to sign. You're authorizing chairman to sign as well. Section 3 down here says, okay, here's how we're going to dedicate your revenues. The Arboretum Estates Tax Fund is going to generate 80% of the city maintenance and operation for non-residential. Okay, that's been our deal point for a long time. And then it's 60% of the city maintenance operation on residential development. And then you go down to section 4, that's the county 60%. That allows us as a TIRZ board to have 30% that we're managing ourselves. That's a good thing. And then you're allowing in section 5 for the city to include the TIRZ agreement. Obviously, it gets appended into an overall development agreement that talks about the annexation and the public improvement district and the impact fees and all that sort of good stuff. And then Section 6 is the legal language, again, really important, and really no different than reality right now, but you got to say it out loud, and you got to highlight it in your resolution. May be utilized to offset PIT assessments. However, the fund may not be directly pledged or create a conveyance, transfer, assignment, mortgage, pledge, grant, or any other encumbrance that results in the city being an obligated person within the meaning of Rule 15C2, because you don't want to do that, right? The TIRZ board does not want to be required by the SEC to do anything, right? And if you end up with a bond covenant where they've said that they're obligating us, then that's a no-go. We don't want to ever do that. So we've included that here as well. So that's a summary of all of that, and I know we took a lengthier period of time to review that last time, but I'll just turn it back over to you to see if there's any questions.
A simple question. When or what determines when the school would start to be constructed?
So I typically hear from our school district that, you know, they have a number of students that they look at and say, well, wait a minute here. When I get to, you know, a 300-student elementary school, they're starting to push their preference there, right? You know, can they get to a 400-person elementary school? Okay, they would use that number as well sometimes. So we have 3 now, right? Gilbert Willie, Long, and Wood. They also really use the fact that they have the Global Leadership Academy as a alternate campus, so that gives them some wiggle room. They're going to add portables because the last bond program, the last bond didn't pass. So I would say they're probably 2 or 3 years out from making a decision about another location. I'd be surprised if the school district decides to build an elementary school in Arboretum Estates as their phase 1. Hey, this is where our next school is going to be, because that's not necessarily where all the growth's going. But you know what? If these guys get out here and they build 1,000 houses, they're going to have a school out there, you know, and there's just no other way about it, because you're going to have to start serving those kiddos who come out there as part of that. So we'll see. You know, it's going to be the school district's choice, not ours, but they already think they're 1 school short at our ISD, and so this isn't going to do anything but put pressure on them. One of the voting issues that happened last time was that when that bond program went forward, they went forward to voters and say, hey, we need another elementary school. And I think that there was some pushback in the community for the fact that they didn't have an identified piece of land for the elementary school. So you really couldn't communicate what you were doing, right? You just kind of said, hey, we're going to build an elementary school, it'll be somewhere. So whether they choose this particular site or whether or not they find another site between now and then, I'm negotiating on 2 other pieces of land right now that might include elementary school sites that are probably going to move slower than this. So we'll just have to wait and see. I don't have a good gut feel about what to tell you there.
So that doesn't necessarily mean it would be an elementary school. It could be something.
They would tell you over at the school district that they would prefer to have more acreage for older ages, right? Because you get more outdoor athletic type stuff. So again, I won't say this perfectly right, but I believe that the school district wishes it had 50 acres for another, call it a junior high campus or middle school campus, whatever you want, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, and then 100 acres for another high school campus. So I don't know who I'm going to twist the arm of to get 100 acres for a high school campus one of these days. But, you know, if you're growing and it's not like Kaufman and Forney and, you know, everybody else doesn't have to deal with this, eventually they'll need another high school campus, or they'll at least have blown out all the room they have at their current campus. So have to be a problem to be dealt with in the future there.
Along the same lines, I noticed that, I think, did I hear you say fire station across from the nature park?
Yeah, yes, sir.
So is that outside the circle of the one you're talking about doing
Yeah, I guess,
It's kind of,
yeah, you know, I feel like, I'm sorry I didn't bring this map, but,
I know
Dora, this map is sitting in my office, and it's one of the panels. And it's the one that's got 3 little circles on it, and it identifies it as red, blue, and yellow. It's on the side, on the floor, right where they stand-up maps. It's on one of the whiteboards. So, that's okay. So,
you probably use the same consultant everybody uses in this.
yeah, we do. And so, Fire Station 3, the piece of land we're about to close on is generally close to Catco on Apache Trail, okay? So we all know where Catco is. So it's very close to that. So that's gonna give me a really good response to everything at Crossroads, Buc-ee's. I mean, my gosh, I'm right there at Buc-ee's right now. I can do accidents on I-20 really easily. We're building several apartment complexes over in that Crossroads zone. That's gonna be good access for the folks at North Spur, right? Because I can get right up to North Spur real easy by getting on Spur 557 and going up to North Spur. So that's all really great access. In the short term, can I serve some of the north part of Arboretum Estates with Fire Station 3? Heck yeah, not a big deal. On the other hand, by the time that gets full, I'm gonna need that fire station out there. So we're gonna kind of be in this, wow, aren't you perfect? You're gonna be in a race, right, between,
You still got the stuff out on 80.
Yeah.
oh yeah, right, yeah, huh?
I mean, that's just,
Yeah.
further away.
Yeah. Isn't Dora perfect? Look at that. She has
Yes.
exactly the right map out of my office. So here's, this is a little bit broader than your question, but I'll just kind of go through this. Here's our thinking now, and I presented this at City Council here recently. We think Station 1 can get relocated north because we've got our eye on a vacant piece of land that is a little bit closer to the high school, okay? So we think with the growth we're seeing up in this zone, that station is a little bit better off up here. We think because we're unlikely to annex very much further to south of Interstate 20, that we can actually serve with Station 2 being where it is on Baker. That was a very small relocation anyway, so we're kind of thinking, hey, and again, I said this at City Council, in our borrow for Fire Station 3, we're gonna include a little bit of contingency availability there, and it's in the wording of the COs that we are going out to the newspaper with, that says, hey, we're gonna be able to remodel Station 2, okay? If I can remodel Station 2, get Station 1 out of City Hall and get a little bit further north, Station 3 is a little bit around the corner here, but that's okay. That's still a good service area for that. It makes it a little bit closer to North Spur. It'll have good service for that. The 1.5 mile service range here is this kind of, hodgepodge line here. That's a 1 mile service area. That's a 1 mile service area. As long as this development right here is just the tail end, and I'm 2 miles or 3 miles away from it, hey, I'm okay. But really, that station is right about here, right? And so I'll have a little overlap between a station here and a station that's right up over here. But it won't be a lot of overlap. And I'll be happy to have them both out there because they'll both be close to Interstate 20 and they'll have a ton of density along Interstate 20. Anyway, longer
Cool.
answer than you wanted.
Yeah, well, my second question, same thing. Inside the Arboretum Estates, or you're going out for, I guess, a bond election for relocating in the other fire stations?
Well, we have the capacity to do it as a CO, but yeah.
Okay, well, same thing. And then, is the TIRZ gonna pay for the fire station in the Arboretum Estates? Or they're just furnishing the land?
Oh, they're just furnishing.
Okay.
It's just, they're just donating the land.
Okay.
I mean, it'll be technically eligible for the TIRZ to pay for it, but, frankly, that's not gonna end up
Okay.
TIRZ expense.
Cool.
So, yeah. Good question, yeah.
All right, any other questions? Can I get a motion to approve?
Commissioner Barber called me this morning, and he's in agreement with all of this stuff. We've
Okay.
kind of beat it to death for several months now.
Yes, we-
And we looked at it from every angle. And I think this is the best way to move forward, so I'll make the motion.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Discuss resolution number 2023-3, a resolution of the tax increment reinvestment zone number 3, board approving TIRZ agreement to collect TIRZ revenues and distribute funds for financing construction of public infrastructure in the planned Eastland Business Park in Terrell, Texas, authorizing the mayor to execute the TIRZ agreement and establishing an effective date.
Sorry, maybe it is, pardon me. I think I just told her the wrong thing, sorry, I'm getting there. There it is, pardon me, I got it. I'm on page 31. Awesome, sorry. Okay, I'm going to do a little PowerPoint here also, but I'll just give you an overview of the resolution as well. So I've got TIRZ number 3. So it's resolution 2023-2 of TIRZ number 3. And first it lays out that I'm in the whereas section here. We lay out that we created our TIRZ back in August of 2023, and that we are going to establish an area that is within TIRZ 3 called Eastland Business Park. So I'm on the third whereas there, and what we're saying is, okay, I got a big TIRZ 3. Within TIRZ 3 is a section called Eastland Business Park. That's called the property. I'm going to show you that in a map here in just a minute. The next whereas is, hey, you've made a determination that annexing this thing, getting into the city limits and moving it forward is what we want to do. And then you're saying, hey, the TIRZ board, the city, and Eastland Business Park all mutually desire to do this. And so here is, again, an agreement, which will be your tax increment refinance zone agreement, and it'll be in there as C. It's a little bit different than last time. Yes, ma'am.
It says TIRZ 3 Resolution 2023-3 for TIRZ 3. Right? TIRZ number 3, resolution number 20233, or is it 2?
Oh, did I say it wrong? No. Okay.
No, it's just, is it supposed to be 2 or 3? It should be 3. Okay.
Okay. Are you looking at the posting?
Yeah. No, I'm looking at this.
That, yeah, we corrected that. Yeah. That, this was incorrectly listed as 2023-3 in the posting, but it's really TIRZ 3 Resolution 2023-2. That number printed as a 3 there.
It should be a 2.
That should have been a 2, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So then we say now therefore, and we say, okay, everything in the whereas section makes sense. And then, I'm sorry, a point I was trying to make there is that you've already adopted as TIRZ Board 2 a final plan for TIRZ 2. You adopted a final plan for TIRZ 4 as Board 4. Board 3 never finalized a final project plan, finance plan for TIRZ 3 because we continue to have this discussion with the developer about little legalese within the TIRZ 3 agreement. They essentially wanted us to go approve that we would pledge money, and of course, we don't pledge money. So we've delayed that because they kept saying, oh, we want you to pledge the TIRZ money. And we keep saying, we're not doing that. So we went around that circle 50 times, and they finally said, okay, fine, we understand you're not going to pledge that money. So that's that. Okay, so we will adopt the final one whenever we do the resolution. Okay, so moving on, that's section 2, Exhibit A. That's going to be your final project plan, finance plan. You flip the page and you say, okay, again, city manager is going to negotiate, mayor is going to be authorized to sign, your chairman's going to be authorized to sign. That's all section 3 is doing in there. Same wording you saw last time. This time around, you have only
um, non-residential in this area. And so the city, in this case, is doing 80% of maintenance and operation in this area, and the county is at 85. I'll say we're arm wrestling with how much is the developer going to pay up front, and whether or not that number is going to be 90, because maybe they'll pay for more stuff up front and want a little bit more. I'm trying to keep that 5% so that the TIRZ board has some flexibility to do stuff. But again, you know, we're not quite done with this thing. I'm just showing you where it stands right now. We're authorized to include it as part of an overall development agreement, land use, annexation fees, municipal utility district, other matters. And then that last one is the same thing I said before about we're not going to, we are going to use it to offset MUD assessments. However, we're not going to use it to pledge or create a conveyance under the SEC rule. So again, that's just the resolution. So it's a little easier if we do the PowerPoint. So if you will, yeah, I think this is, can I ask if we could go into executive session just so if there's any other negotiating points? So Dawn, would you mind if we do executive session real quick? You just have to add, yeah, you got to go over to say the item 6. Yeah, if you read through that item 6 real quick, yeah.
There's no motion to carry on 5.2?
Not right now, no.
Adjourn into executive session in accordance with Section 551 of the Texas Government Code to discuss the following. Section 551.087, deliberations regarding economic development negotiations.
All right.
reconvene into regular session and consider action, if any, items discussed in executive session. Nothing? Okay, we adjourn.
Very good. Dawn will pull